In 1513, Niccolo Machiavelli was exiled from Florence. He lost his position, his reputation, his access to power, everything. They sent him to a farm in the middle of nowhere. In that forced solitude, he wrote the most dangerous book in human history. Not despite being alone, because of it. 500 years later, Robert Greene spent 5 years in near total isolation to write the 48 Laws of Power. Same discovery. Solitude isn't weakness. It's the forge where power is made. So here's the question. If you lost everything tomorrow, your job, your reputation, your social circle, would you fall apart? Or would you finally become dangerous? 7 lessons. Let's go. Here's a pattern so consistent, it's almost a law. Every single figure who achieved lasting power went through a period of exile first. Machiavelli. Napoleon, exiled to Elba, came back and conquered Europe in 100 days. Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, walked out untouchable. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations in a military camp on the edge of the empire, cut off from Rome, talking to himself in a journal he never intended anyone to read, not one exception. The exile wasn't an interruption of their story. The exile is where the actual transformation happened. Robert Greene writes about this explicitly. The greatest figures in history all went through an apprenticeship phase where they were isolated, ignored, underestimated, and forced to work on their craft with no recognition. He calls it the most important phase, and the phase almost nobody has the patience to complete anymore. Here's why this matters to you. When was the last time you spent 6 months working on something with absolutely no external validation? No likes, no comments, no one telling you you're on the right track. If the answer is never, you haven't been tested yet. You know what you can do with a tailwind. You don't know what you can do when nobody is watching. And that's a much more important number. Which phase are you in right now? The exile or the return? Let's get concrete. What does constant social contact actually cost you? Machiavelli had a line that gets quoted constantly, but almost never understood correctly. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. On the surface, that's advice for rulers. But there's a deeper layer. It's a statement about the cost of other people's emotional demands on your attention. When people love you, they want things: time, energy, reassurance, attention. When people hate you, they also want things: reactions, explanations, the satisfaction of getting under your skin. Both love and hatred consume your most limited resource, your focus. Robert Greene's Law. 18 says, "Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous." On the surface, this contradicts everything I just said. It doesn't. Greene's point isn't that you should never be alone. It's that you should never be cut off from information. There's a difference between strategic solitude and defensive isolation. Strategic solitude is when you withdraw to think, to plan, to build. Defensive isolation is when you withdraw because you're afraid of the game. One is a weapon, the other is a surrender. The people who win do both. Long periods alone, building capacity. Then re-engaging with ruthless precision. Be honest. Has there been a time you pulled back from people and your life got noticeably better? What changed? Here's something that might sting. Machiavelli understood that the desire for approval is the single most exploitable weakness a human being has. If I can make you want my approval, I own you. I don't need to threaten you. I don't need to pay you. I just need my opinion of you to matter to you more than your own opinion of yourself, and you'll do whatever I want. Think about how much of your life has been shaped by this. The career you chose, the way you present yourself, the opinions you keep to yourself, all filtered through what will they think. Now here's the uncomfortable distinction. Respect and approval are not the same thing. You can be approved of and not respected. You can be respected and not approved of. And of the two, only respect actually gives you power. Robert Greene puts it bluntly. People want to feel secure in their judgments about others. The moment you become predictable, you become controllable. And the moment you become controllable, you lose all respect. What makes someone unpredictable? They don't need your approval. If I can predict how you'll react because I don't know what you want from me, I can't manipulate you. You can't develop that quality in a crowd. You can only develop it alone, where there's nobody to perform for. Think of the person you respect most. Is that person constantly seeking approval, or do they have a core that doesn't bend? Drop their name. Not who, but what quality they have that you want. This is the part nobody says out loud. If you start spending serious time alone, not scrolling, not numbing, genuinely alone with your own thoughts, something happens. You start seeing things clearly. You notice who adds value to your life and who just takes. And the people who just take, they notice immediately, and they will make you feel like something is wrong with you. You've changed. You're so distant lately. You think you're better than us. Translation: you're becoming harder to use, and I don't like it. Machiavelli wrote about this dynamic between princes and courtiers. The principle is the same at every level. People who benefit from your availability will always pathologize your independence. They'll call it arrogance, coldness, selfishness, whatever makes you doubt yourself and come back. Robert Greene calls this the pull of the group, the gravitational force that drags you back into conformity the moment you start to separate. His advice: expect it, plan for it, recognize it for what it actually is. Not love, not concern, but the group's immune system attacking a cell that's starting to behave independently. Here's the test. The next time you pull back to work on something real, pay attention to who supports it and who resents it. The supporters care about you. The resenters care about what you do for them. Have you ever had someone make you feel guilty for focusing on yourself? How did you handle it? Here's a question. What do you actually own? Most people's answer is almost nothing. Their job is owned by their employer. Their reputation is owned by public perception. Even their personality is often owned by whoever they are trying to impress. So they live in constant low-grade terror because at any moment, everything can be taken. Machiavelli, after his exile, still had something nobody could repossess: his understanding of human nature. 15 years of observing popes, kings, mercenaries, and schemers. Nobody could delete the patterns he'd earned, and those insights turned out to be worth more than the career he lost. The career made him a functionary. The insights made him immortal. Robert Greene is the modern case study. Before the 48 Laws of Power, Greene failed at everything: construction, editing, Hollywood, journalism. By his own description, he was a failure through his 20s and 30s. Then 5 years in near isolation. No income, no social life, no guarantee it would work. And what came out of that period wasn't a job. It was a body of knowledge he owned completely. That book has now sold millions of copies. Not because Greene was connected, because he spent the time alone to build something original. What are you building right now that will still be yours if everything else disappears? Now the tactical layer. Because understanding why solitude is powerful is one thing. Knowing how to use it is another. Machiavelli's most underrated insight: Absence creates value. What is always available is always undervalued. The person who is always reachable, always responsive, that person is not respected. They're furniture. In The Prince, Machiavelli advises rulers to be present enough to maintain control, but absent enough to maintain mystery. He wasn't talking about playing games. He was talking about the economics of human attention. When you're always available, you're cheap. When you're selectively absent, you become expensive. Robert Greene extends this into modern life with what he calls the strategic withdrawal. Not ghosting, not being unreliable, but deliberately creating periods where you are not accessible, and using those periods to advance in ways that are impossible when you're constantly responding to other people's agendas. Here's the practical test. Most people are reactive. They wake up, check messages, and spend the day answering inputs someone else already decided on. Their best energy goes to other people's priorities. Strategic disappearance flips that. Disappear for 2 hours every morning. Phone off. Notifications off. Nobody can reach you. Work on the thing that actually moves you forward. Then reappear and handle the world. But the most valuable hours, already spent. On your terms. And here's the twist. The world doesn't punish this behavior. It rewards it. When you're harder to reach, your time becomes more valuable. Not just to you, but to everyone else. If you disappeared for 2 hours every morning with no phone, what would you build? Final lesson. This ties everything together. All of Machiavelli's advice, all of Greene's laws, they rest on one thing. You have to know who you are before you can play the game. Because if you don't know who you are, the game will decide for you. And it will not decide kindly. Robert Greene. The greatest power you can have is complete self-knowledge. Knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers, your patterns. Because if you know yourself better than anyone else does, you are impossible to manipulate. Here's the catch. You cannot achieve self-knowledge in a crowd. Because in a crowd, you are always filtering yourself through other people's expectations. The only way to find out who you actually are, not who you wish you were, not who you present as, but who you are when nobody is watching, is to spend enough time alone that the performance stops and the real person surfaces. That's uncomfortable. It's meant to be. When Machiavelli died in 1527, he was not powerful by worldly measures. He never got his old job back. But 500 years later, his name is permanent. The people who exiled him, you don't know their names. Their power was temporary because it depended on position. His power was permanent because it was built alone, from the inside out. Temporary power purchased with conformity, or permanent power built in the quiet hours. The first one is easier. The second one is the only thing that lasts.